punishment for challenging the dollar. Why Trump's threat shook the BRICS nations. A room full of the world's most powerful people, a confidential meeting, and then suddenly a booming warning echoed from the White House. If anyone dares to challenge the dollar, be ready to face the consequences. These weren't the words of just any leader, but of one of the most controversial and aggressive heads of state, Donald Trump. He launched a direct attack on the efforts of the BRICS nations, who were taking a small but bold step toward building a dollar-free global economic system. But the question is, was Trump's threat just a play of words, or was it a signal of a new global trade war? Today, we'll dive deep into this issue. But before we begin, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our latest updates. Now, let's begin today's discussion without any delay. U.S. President Donald Trump is now speaking exclusively in the language of tariffs. He has declared that any country attempting to sideline the U.S. dollar will have to pay a heavy price. And this threat wasn't just written in some policy document. It was spoken aloud, clearly and forcefully from the White House podium. He directly targeted the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with their newly added members, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. There was a sharp edge to Trump's words. He said, "They want to take control of the dollar, but we won't let that happen." He made this statement while signing a new cryptocurrency regulation bill. Though the law was technically about digital assets, Trump used the occasion to deliver a stern warning to BRICS nations. The message was loud and clear: America will no longer tolerate any kind of economic rebellion. And this warning didn't come out of the blue. Trump has raised this issue before. Last year, he warned that if BRICS moved ahead with plans for a joint currency to rival the dollar, the U.S. would impose 100% tariffs on their exports. Now, he has doubled down on that threat. If no trade agreement is reached by August 1, a new tariff regime will be formally imposed on the BRICS bloc. In short, preparations for a full-blown economic war are already in place. But this raises a critical question. Do the BRICS nations truly want to break free from the U.S. dollar? Is this just an economic strategy, or is it a rebellion against American dominance? In fact, many BRICS leaders have long argued that the dominance of the U.S. dollar in global trade weakens their economies. Countries like Russia and Iran, already under Western sanctions, have been actively exploring alternatives to the dollar. In recent years, Iran and Russia announced plans to launch a new gold-backed cryptocurrency, designed to function as a politically neutral reserve currency. All of this points to a bigger picture, a world where the dollar is no longer the sole king of global finance. And that very prospect has caused sleepless nights in Washington. Leaders like Donald Trump are now speaking openly in the language of threats to protect dollar supremacy. India's position in all this is quite unique and delicate. On one hand, it is a founding member of BRICS, and on the other, it maintains strong trade relations with the United States. When Trump's threat surfaced, India responded swiftly with clarification. "We are not part of any de-dollarization campaign." Foreign Ministry spokesperson 𝐟𝐨𝐥𝐿 stated that while BRICS countries have discussed using local currencies, there is no conspiracy to weaken the dollar. This statement clearly reflects India's diplomatic balancing act. Such contradictions are evident within BRICS itself. Some countries openly want to challenge the dollar and seek alternatives, while others, especially India, prefer a gradual, balanced approach. After all, severing trade ties with the U.S. is not something any country can do abruptly. And Trump's escalating threats have made that path even more risky and complicated. Now let's talk about how the dollar became so powerful. Behind it lies a long historical journey. After World War I, America emerged as one of the world's major powers. In the 1920s, the dollar began challenging the pound sterling. Then, in 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement was signed, recognizing the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. After World War II, the advantage the U.S. gained in economic, military, and technological fields made the dollar the foundation of global trade. Even today, about 90% of the world's international transactions are conducted in U.S. dollars. Oil, gold, electronics, food, every sector is dominated by the dollar. In such a situation, if any country tries to separate from this system, it becomes a direct thorn in America's eye. But now the situation is changing. The Ukraine-Russia war, Iran-Israel tensions, and America's ongoing policies have sent a message to countries across the world: if you are dependent on the dollar, America's decisions can destroy your economy. That's why countries like Saudi Arabia, China, India, Malaysia, and France are working on local currencies or alternative options. For example, India and Malaysia have started some transactions in Indian rupees. China has traded natural gas with France in yuan. Saudi Arabia has also indicated its readiness to trade in other currencies. These signs may be small, but their significance is enormous. They mark the beginning of a shift that could challenge the dominance of the dollar. Trump is afraid of this very shift. His strategy is clear: intimidate, threaten, and clear the path using the whip of tariffs. But will this strategy really succeed? Trump also claimed that after he issued his warning, the number of representatives attending the next BRICS meeting dropped. He said, "They didn't want tariffs. They were even afraid to meet me." These words reflect Trump's confidence, but they also show that the U.S. now sees BRICS as a serious challenge. But what is the real truth behind this threat? Will the U.S. really impose an additional 10% tariff on BRICS countries? If that happens, the impact won't just be on those countries, but also on the U.S. economy itself. Expensive imports mean American consumers will have to pay higher prices, and the trade deficit could grow further. In other words, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, Trump wants to display his power to the world, but on the other hand, voices of opposition to this policy are rising within the U.S. itself. Because global trade is a complex web where one change can shake the entire system. That's why this is a very delicate time for countries like India. On one hand, it wants to explore new pathways in collaboration with BRICS, while on the other, it needs to maintain its relationship with the United States. This is precisely why India has distanced itself from the term de-dollarization and is trying to maintain diplomatic balance. But the real question is, will Trump's threats bring this movement to a halt? Or is the world truly standing at a crossroads where the monopoly of the U.S. dollar could break? Perhaps only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the era when the whole world followed America's lead is over. Now, every country is making decisions based on its own economic interests. And this is what's troubling Trump the most. In the end, this isn't just a story about the dollar. It's a story about power and control, about freedom and choices.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources: news from various news agencies, opinion polls, and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.